Good morning. It's Children's Day. My name is Ayo Makinde. Welcome to the program.
Good morning. It's Children's Day. I must add that as well. For good reason that you'll find out later on the program if I get the opportunity. I am Bukola Samuel Wemimo.
And well, today it's political capital and the commercial capital having a conversation. Good morning, guys.
That's right. Good morning. I'm sorry, guys. The sun rises differently in Abuja. So, yeah, it's a beautiful morning here in the nation's political capital. You can see the look my quest gave me.
I'm waiting for you.
I was set up.
Just waiting for you. And every morning he goes, from the commercial capital,
You set me up, literally. Gosh. But it's beautiful to be here.
It's lovely to have you. Good morning, Nigeria. From the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, I'm Maupe Ogu Yusuf. And I'm very happy to have you here, Kayode.
Honestly.
This lovely Children's Day.
No, that's something all of us, no one can deny that you've never been a child. You can say you've never grown up. You can say you've never been to a country, you don't understand what it is to be maybe poor or rich. But you can never deny that you've not been a child, essentially. Guys.
Well, some children have not been given the opportunity to live. There's so many things to consider today, being Children's Day. Usually when I wish adults happy Children's Day, I always say, may the child in you never die.
Amen.
Because you do not want, yes, we all want to grow up. When we were children, we wanted to grow up, and now some people will say adulting is a scam.
They want to go back, right?
They want to go back and become children.
Oh,
but the truth of the matter is, when you think about, when you look at children and how fascinating they are, how curious they are, how innocent they are, and how they want to just, live life. They're very full of life.
Oh, yes.
You always have to pray that may the child in you never die. That's a wonderful prayer.
Honestly.
But aside that, aside praying that the child in us never dies, we also have to ask, what sort of world we're making for our children. Are we making the world for them a safer place, a better place? There are so many challenges today. Climate change is one of them, and that immediately has a bearing on what children, the upcoming generation will inherit as the earth. Their environmental issues, insecurity, all manner of things. You and I don't know what your childhood was like, Kayode, but I know that I spent my childhood climbing trees. I didn't live in a gated, I lived in a gated estate, but my house wasn't gated. We could play with our friends, we could climb trees, we could play with the sand and all manner of things. How many children have that luxury today? Nowadays, children are engaged with things like this, your
devices,
phone.
right?
It's a good thing, but there's also the negative. Now many children cannot walk by themselves from home to school, be they poor, be they rich. Remember the other time, it was right here in the Federal Capital Territory that, somebody went to pick her children from school and they were nowhere to be found. 3 of them, and she went to pick them. It's not like I said they normally make their way home. She walks them to school and bring them. Time was when children could safely walk and go to school. I remember walking to school when I was a child, living in Lagos, and the distance I covered then. I'm serious, Kayode. I'm being very honest. Wow. I used to live in Ijaniki. And going to federal government, there was a nursery school, the federal government's secondary school there had in Ijanikin there, and I was going to that nursery school, and I used to walk from the house with maybe 1 or 2 friends. In nursery school, I was about 4 or 5, to that school. Now, when I go back to Lagos and I look at that distance, I'm like, I'm asking myself,
how did you do it then?
Yes, you mean my parents left me to walk this distance by myself? Today, no parent dares try it.
Oh dear.
And maybe with secondary school children, you could risk it. Children will be between 15 and 16, but certainly not at that age. You'll be accused of child abuse, especially with all that is going on. So there is a lot to consider for our children today. But nonetheless, we have to wish them a happy Children's Day.
Happy Children's Day.
We don't want to have all of the conversation. Don't worry, Lagos. You get a chance to talk about this.
Absolutely. I think there's nothing much to add, really. I just wanted to say, or reiterate that, really, what are we leaving behind for our children, for the young younger ones. And I think that's why all of us had to go through that process. So we wouldn't say, we don't know what it is like to be children. We don't know the needs, the vulnerabilities of children. We can't say that. And I think that's the essence of all of us passing through this, stage of being a child. So today, let's just ask ourselves, are we making life better for our children? Are we paying more attention? The president talked about education. Just how much value is in education today? I can go on and on, but hey, I just have to yield this to Lagos. Guys.
Malkwe, you must have peeped into my notes by half, honestly. But first of all, before I start off, I want to commend you for being very, very powerful indeed, because Nigerian women should learn to play politics the way you do. You have achieved parity on this side of the divide, and in such a short while, you have achieved parity on the other side as well. So well done, Malkwe. That's just on a light note. Just yesterday, my son was telling me that, Mommy, you're a child because we still have our grandma. And he said I should perform a task, like they have also performed. That was interesting, but it got me thinking because I wish that I could become a child as well with no worries, especially in Nigeria of today where there's so many things to worry about. You talked about insecurity. There's education as well, with more than 10.5 million Nigerian children out of school. What's their future like? Let me just add this, because you have said much of, the things that we should look at and rethink. Many Nigerian parents are rethinking the future of their children. And I must be frank, be candid about it, myself inclusive. We're rethinking the future of our children, especially in the aspect of location. What does Nigeria hold? What does the future hold for Nigerian children in terms of location, especially because of insecurity? Many Nigerians don't want their children to grow up in a place where their parents cannot sleep with their two eyes closed. A lot of Nigerians are relocating, especially not just because of themselves, but because of their children. We must rethink our choices. And as the politicians go to, the polls today for the primaries, the delegates must think beyond, the gains, the inducement. Think about the future of your children before you make that all-important decision.
You just took the words of Mr. Peter Obi when he was talking to some delegates. Look, when you vote as delegates, think about the children. Let that be your priority. And I think he couldn't have said it better, and you just restricted that. Perhaps maybe you shared his own notes as well. Mark shared yours. But is it that we haven't thought about the children? No. As far back as 1959, the United Nations made a declaration for the rights of the child. And that culminated in 1979 on the International Year of the Child. That produced the Convention on the Rights of the Child in 1989. Nigeria domesticated that, the Child Rights Act of 2003. We have thought, but what have we done? I think that is what is important. And what are we going to do? We have fantastic documents. We have thought. We have ratified. We have signed. What have we done? I think that's the question we should be asking ourselves. Now, Malkwe, I'm going to take your word this morning. I'm going to ask everyone, as you have recalled your growing up, I'm going to ask everyone listening to us right now and watching us, tell us your own childhood story on Twitter. #mychildhood and mention Sunrise Daily. Let's see how fun your own childhood was. I know what mine was. I'm going to play that role as well later on the day. Let's see, how well you were and what are you telling your children? We have thought. What have we done? Now, what are we going to do? That should be our motto, and that should be our totem going forward. Let's flip to the papers now and see what the headlines are saying.
Well, let's start off with Leadership Friday. I'll be honest with you, I've been looking through the dailies and I'm trying to check which one focuses on Children's Day. It looks like politics is taking over from the children. Not fair. I'll say that again, not fair. But, you know, Leadership has this one about children somewhere there, about Leadership newspaper child brand ambassadors. But the big story is actually politics, yeah. 811 PDP delegates in moment of decision. How 14 aspirants stand. It's a page 4 read, and you can see pictures of the politicians, the aspirants on the front page. You know, I thought pictures of children, but no, again, politics is taking over from the children today.
At least there are some children there, you know, even though they're Leadership newspapers, brand ambassadors.
3 of them.
The reason why I know that this might be a little disappointing this year is because last year Leadership has had a whole special for Children's Day, you know, a paper done by the children for the children, a very colorful edition.
I remember that.
It's something I cannot forget in a hurry because I was just gushing over it. But hey, you know, something interesting came out of that, which we'll be letting you on later.
Yes.
So maybe not a total disappointment.
Exactly. So just hold up for that one. But that's how that's the big story on the front page of the Leadership today. And a couple of others, APC primaries, Buni, Sanwo-Olu, Matawale, Zulum, Abdulrazak, Inuwa return unopposed. Yesterday was APC governorship primaries. And the results are still coming in, by the way. So we'll give you a breakdown. Definitely the ones we have so far. Page 7. Well, a couple of other stories, but we'll leave it there for Leadership Friday.
Well, look at what Vanguard Newspapers has on its front page. It has this, 2023, how PDP governors frustrated Obi out of party. Governors tighten grip on delegates ahead. APC PDP presidential primaries. APC mulls adoption of security reports on aspirants. Might shelve screening. Disqualifies 4 out of 1,197 House of Reps aspirants. APC decides on zoning after screening presidential aspirants. That's from Adamu. So what do we take now? Is it that they're going to screen them or they will not screen them? I don't know. They should make up their mind. Page 5 will give you details. But just in case you're wondering what exactly happened, it looks like Vanguard Newspapers has a scoop for you. 2023, how PDP governors frustrated Obi out of party. You also have a number of other stories here. Over half of death row inmates in sub-Saharan Africa are in Nigeria. Drug trafficking charged by lives in danger in prison, Abba Kyari tells court. And you also have a number of other stories just on top of the nameplate. How Chinese firm shattered my dreams. That's from a 22-year-old amputee. That story is on page 13. Politics is dominating the front page. And this company income tax rises 53% to 532.4 billion naira in Q1 2022. Yeah, Mr. and Mrs. is also there, but let's leave it there for Vanguard Newspapers.
And from Vanguard, let's go to the Guardian newspapers this morning. And politics is also at the heart of the matter, as the big story goes thus. 48 hours to APC presidential primary. Another shift likely over absence of screening convention committee. As Malpe said, what's it going to be? Will they be screened or not? Would it make sense if they're screened after the primaries? We really don't know. But
how is that going to happen?
Everyone is waiting with bated breath for the decision of the APC. And the riders go this way. Stakeholders decry lull in convention activities. Delay strategic, says official of Bello campaign group. Buhari departs for AU summit after meeting with Osinbajo. Fayemi, no cause for alarm over consensus candidate. Well, all of that you'll find on page, I think, 7 of the Guardian newspapers. And just one more before we exit the Guardian. Abuja stands still for APC PDP convention. Read the big story on pages 4, 5, and 6.
The Daily Trust newspaper leads this way. APC presidential ticket. Buhari meets governors. Mum on preferred candidate. It's like the big story waiting to happen. Well, 2-3 riders leaves aspirants, others guessing, off to Malabo for AU summit. No date for screening, 48 hours to primaries. Okay. PDP picks candidate tomorrow. Find the stories on the inside pages. Right below that picture on the front page, presidential race. Osinbajo's campaign trips funding raises dust. How heavy? Find out on page 3. Unofficial use of presidential jet, act of corruption. Find out who said that one. And there's a response. VP hasn't breached law. That's according to lawyers. Find the story on the inside pages. Right under the nameplate, ongoing party primaries a mess, says Jonathan. And insecurity. Abuja Kaduna flight tickets sell for over 100,000 naira. Okay, that's the Daily Trust newspaper this morning.
New Telegraph this morning. Electoral Act. Supreme Court reserves judgment on Buhari suit against National Assembly. It's another angle to this political season, you would say. Page 5, National Assembly, Rivers MBA seeks suits dismissal. So that's the battle in the court, you might say. This one, ongoing party primaries a mess, says Jonathan. That's right. Omo Agege, Ashiru Emenike, ex-Army General Abiodun, others win. Shehu Sani Yeru lose. APC tension in Edo over non-arrival of sensitive materials, process aborted in Oyo. So it's quite interesting how New Telegraph puts the primaries in context when the former president says the ongoing party primaries are a mess. So I wonder what the parties will have to say about this. By the way, you need to also understand the context in which the former president was speaking. Pages 5, 6, and 7 has more details. Igbo elders hail Obi's exit from PDP. Oh, that's right. Accuses PDP APC of plotting to scheme out Southeast as Middle Belt Forum turns down North Central candidacy. Again, another angle to this one, pages 3 and 6. But we're just a few days from the party primaries, just a few hours, let me just say, the presidential primary. So we'll eventually find out what will come out of all of that. Presidential aspirants, I'm sole runner, Tinubu tells delegates. I recall Governor Wike also saying something like that. In fact, asking our political editor to congratulate him. So pages 3, 4, and 31 of the New Telegraph this morning. I'll leave it there for the paper and let you do the other readings yourself.
Politicians ever so optimistic. Well, on the front page of News Direct this morning, these ones have every reason to be optimistic because they have finally clinched their party's tickets. Look at this, 2023 elections. Sanwo-Olu, Abiodun, Omo-Agege, others clinch APC Guba tickets. Don't forget that yesterday was the APC governorship primaries. I think today is their National Assembly. Yeah. National Assembly primaries, so we should be seeing those who will emerge holding the tickets for the APC for the House of Reps and also that of the Senate as well. But yesterday was that of the governors, and Nigerian News Direct has a summary for you. They have the picture of the current governor of Lagos State and his deputy right there on the front page as one of those who were able to clinch tickets yesterday. UBA said to reward loyal customers in Super Savers draw. That is on the front page. Abdulrazak touts gains of Otoge as Kwara APC affirms governor for second term. So that is also there. I
think it was a smooth ride for the governors, really. No upset.
For the incumbents,
Incumbent,
right? Yeah.
I mean, I think, does that say a lot? I'm not asking you, actually. It's a rhetorical question. Because you think maybe there'll be some major contests, but what we saw was either a voice vote or just a sole candidate or some other people were barred. And I'm wondering...
You know how governors already are considered leaders of their parties in states, and that's why usually if there was a godfather before the governor came to power, or a godfather who installed him, you find that there's usually that battle to take over the structure of the state, because you know he or she wants to ensure. What am I saying, he or she? When did the she's ever get in?
No, it's okay to say he or she, please. At least for the future.
Let's start getting used to that term. You know, he or she wants to be able to ensure that you have the structure in place for your re-election.
I just wonder if it also means that they're actually performing, if they're getting the re-election or at least getting the candidacy because of performance, not just because they're the leaders.
You want to get that from their party?
Okay. Is that asking for too much?
That could be a possibility. That could be a possibility. We've seen instances where, I think the re-election will now determine whether the people agree with the party or not. Do we still have any more papers?
Well, let's
Yes,
take it back to
indeed,
Lagos.
Malpe. You started off with the former president's observation about the primaries, and that's where I'm headed as I bring you the headlines from the Daily Times newspapers this morning. I'm going to start from the top left-hand corner of the paper, and it says, Supreme Court reserves judgment on Section 8412 of Electoral Act 2022 indefinitely. And 8412 was one of the items that the former president was reacting to when he attended that book launch yesterday. There's more to look at where that is concerned. Of course, we can never have said enough about Section 84 of the amended Electoral Act. And that's one of the stories on the Daily Times. Another says, drug trafficking trial, my life in danger in prison. Abba Kyari tells court. That's Nigeria's super cop who is currently embattled. A paradox, really, of crime fighting when the hunter becomes the hunted. And lastly, before I exit the Daily Times, take battle to bandits' doorstep, Matawali urges military. Of course, Zamfara State has had its fair share of insecurity challenges in recent times. Ayo.
Well, the Nigerian Tribune is my pick this morning, and what we have is decisive weekend. APC, PDP pick presidential candidates. Found the stories on pages 2 and 8. About 3,000 delegates to vote for Simbajo, Tinubu, Lawan, Amechi, Atiku, Saraki, Wike, others. I was just thinking about this. Abuja hotels fully booked. Okay, let me not reiterate that. Buhari jets out to Equatorial Guinea for 3 days. Find the details, as I said, on the inside pages. I'm just wondering.
I'm not going to let that go easily, Ayo. If, under the current circumstances, you know, the delegates list has really been narrowed down, you know, and we have less, unlike what it was in the past, and the hotels are still fully booked, what would have happened if the old order was maintained?
Well, maybe because that provision wasn't signed. Because I don't know what would happen.
What would have happened?
I don't know what would happen. Don't forget, the delegates may not come alone. Some who would be maybe statutory delegates would have come with aides after raids and all of that. The roads would be
and some
jammed.
delegates are mentors. They may be coming with their mentees who are aspiring,
Exactly.
you know, to become delegates themselves.
Exactly.
To become members of political parties.
So it's not only the hotels that would have been booked, fully booked. All guest houses, all friends' houses, you name it. Everything would have been fully booked, just to say the least. That's what you have. And then, you know, just imagine the economic ecosystem. That's
Implications as well.
Well, add that also to the pressure on social amenities, social infrastructure, you know, convenience and all of that all over the city now.
A
It's
little
just a lot.
wonder that the Bauchi State governor and presidential aspirant said the less the merrier. Never heard that before until now.
Well, have you ever heard before delegates procurement
process,
I guess
DPP.
Okay. Is that a political party? I don't know. Don't answer that one. Well, so many other stories on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune, but you can do the choosing yourself. And that Nigerian Tribune brings a close on the look at the papers. But then the issues are not going to go away. We'll take them home when we return from this break. Please stay with us.
The power to decide who represents a political party at the polls lies in the hands of party delegates, which is why these ad hoc delegates of the All Progressives Congress are out in their numbers across southern Nigeria to nominate their preferred governorship candidates ahead of 2023. Here, APC members in Rivers State converge on their Dokia Miesimaka Stadium for the governorship primaries. However, it is laced with controversy, as one of the aspirants, Senator Magnus Abe, says he will not accept the outcome of the exercise, citing credibility issues.
What I will say to Rivers people is that I, Senator Magnus Nge Abe, will be on that ballot.
But at the end of the exercise, Mr. Tony Cole emerges as the APC governorship candidate in Rivers State after defeating other contestants. In neighboring Abia State, 3 of the aspirants contesting at the primaries walked out of the venue, saying they are not in support of the indirect mode of primaries. But that did not stop the exercise, as Mr. Ekechi Emenike emerged winner after scoring 672 votes to beat other contestants. Controversy also traced the Ogun State governorship primaries as two aspirants, Adekunle Akinlade and Biyo Tegbeye, passed a vote of no confidence on the chairman of the governorship election primaries, Wale Ohu. However, the exercise leads to the emergence of incumbent Governor Dapo Abiodun as the governorship candidate of the party after scoring 1,168 votes.
I don't think that a transparent process gets any better than this.
Olusola Sanwo-Olu, having scored the highest number of votes cast, is hereby declared winner.
In Lagos, incumbent Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu is declared winner of the APC governorship primaries by the Electoral Committee chairman, which will see him return to the polls to seek a second term in office.
The confidence that you have reposed in us will not betray it, will not disappoint you. We'll ask God to give us renewed energy so that we can take Lagos to a level that will be truly, truly reflective of the aspiration of every of our Lagosian.
However, one of the contestants, Mr. Wale Oluo, who did not show up for the exercise, alleges exclusion and breach of electoral guidelines. In Delta State, Deputy Senate President Senator Ovie Omo-Agege clinched the APC governorship ticket.
The winner of this election is Senator Ovie Omo-Agege,
after defeating other aspirants.
That Delta, the new Delta, will be erected based on the acronym EDGE. We're going to focus on the creation and expansion of employment and empowerment for our people.
Francis Ogbonna Nwufuru, having scored the highest number of votes cast, is hereby declared winner.
And to Ebonyi State, where the Speaker of the State House of Assembly, Mr. Ogbonna Nwufuru, secured the party's governorship ticket with 743 votes ahead of other aspirants.
Transpired in the States yesterday with regards to the APC governorship primary. Everything is now coming here to Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory, where we're preparing for the PDP presidential primaries, which will be happening between today and concluding finally, I believe, on Sunday.
So that'll be Saturday and Sunday.
Saturday and Sunday. And then you will now have that of the APC starting, I believe, on Sunday and Monday. Going on to Monday. Maybe you get the final results on Tuesday. And that's how it's going to play out. That's how it's played out already in the States. Now, just in case you didn't get a few more of the governorship candidates. Yeah, they're candidates now. They're no longer aspirants.
No more aspirants, right?
We have a few of the results here, Kadi.
That's right. So let's walk you through some of the results we're getting. By the way, some of those primaries are still being conducted. Results are still trickling in. But let's tell you what we have so far. So for Ogun State, you have a winner, Governor Dapo Abiodun, with 1,168 votes. Runners-up, Adekunle Akinlade and Biyo Tegbeye actually rejected the results. And then in neighboring Lagos, the governor, again, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, with 1,170 votes, emerged the candidate of the APC. And you may have heard that two candidates were barred from that particular primary. But over to the northeast state of Yobe, where the former caretaker chairman and governor of Yobe State, Governor Maimala Buni, with 825 votes, emerged the candidate of the APC for that state. And not far from there, Borno State, we have, of course, again, the governor, Babagana Zulum, with 1,411 votes, emerging the candidate of the APC. In Delta State, Senator Ovie Omo-Agege, with 1,190 votes, emerged the candidates of the party. Yeah.
Don't worry. I wasn't going to chop off your head if you didn't get that name right.
I mean, you keep getting different pronunciations.
Every time I hear that name, maybe because I grew up in Delta, I'm always, saying that name. I mean, my viewers don't get confused this morning. You schooled in Lagos, you grew up in Delta, make up your mind.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's good. Yeah. I mean, it shows just how Nigerian you are.
Very Nigerian.
We have a couple more results.
Indeed, we do. Yeah. Zamfara is Up next, Governor Bello Matawalle is winner with 733 votes. This is primaries, please be mindful when I say winner. Nasarawa, Governor Abdullahi Sule also clinched his party's ticket with 698 votes. Kaduna, Senator Uba Sani got his party's ticket with 1,149 votes. The runners-up there, Bashir Abubakar with 37 votes, Sani Shaban with 10 votes. In Katsina, Diko Rada won with 506 votes. There were quite a number of runners-up, and the vote was pretty close in Katsina. Abbas Masanawa got 436 votes.
You recall him, right? The former head of the printing and minting company. In Nigeria. It was actually very interesting primaries. I think one of the most interesting.
Interesting,
really.
Pretty intense. Yeah. I mean, look at that, 506 votes, and there were two major runners-up. So you also have Mustafa Inua, who also got 442 votes, and Ahmed Dangiwa, who got 220 votes. And there were 5 others who also contested. Let's flip this to Lagos.
And from Katsina, let's go to Rivers, where Tonye Cole emerged with 986 votes. It was a process that was contended, especially by the other aspirant, as you saw earlier on, who insists that his name, regardless of the circumstances, will emerge on the ballot. How that will turn out, we don't know. Let's look at the runners-up. There is Ojukaye Flag Amakri, who secured 190 votes. So Conte Davies had 49 votes. Michael West got 43 votes, while Bernard Miko was only able to earn 2 votes. Senator Magda Abbey, as said earlier, withdrew. From there, let's go to Ebonyi State, where the winner is Ogbonna Nwifuru, who has been able to get for himself 743 votes. And the runners-up, Rosemary Ofoke, came behind, a distant one as well, 663 votes rather, 63 votes. There's Ucha Julius, who secured 22 votes. Elas Mbam has 10 votes, and Edward Unkwegu has just 8 votes.
Abia, we had Ikechi Emenike with 672 votes. 3 aspirants walked out. Gombe, the governor Inuwa Yahaya, voice votes of 563 delegates. Well, that's it. Plateau State, Nantawe Yilwada had 803 votes. But guys, you were talking about the Katsina thing. I'm just trying to imagine that what happened in Katsina, the tension in the air, in the hearts of the people who are part of that one. That's really close, Coyote.
I don't know, big names, if I could use that term. I mean, I talked about former head of the that minting and printing. We had former head of Smedan, I think even the deputy governor. So major names. And I know for a lot of people in Katsina, they were watching that one closely just to see how the winners will emerge.
For me, that's truly the beauty of democracy. Yeah. But, I mean, we're not having this discussion alone this morning, Kayode. We're joined this morning by Dr. Eddie Olafeso, who is a former zonal chairman of the PDP in the Southwest. Dr. Eddie, you're welcome to Sunrise Daily this morning. It's good to see you again.
Thank you, Marque.
And this time live in our studios, not too far away, Odo, where you usually join us from.
Thank you.
Everyone is converging here on the federal capital. We imagine you're here for the primaries. Is
Absolutely.
That
Absolutely.
This is where it is happening.
Yeah.
But so far, so good. There have been no surprises. Or have there been for you from what you have seen so far, from both the primaries of the PDP and that of the APC?
None, in the sense that the incumbents most of the times win around here. And you see that our party, Democratic Development, is not yet as free to be able to punish those that have not done very well and reward those that have done well. Mm-hmm. You could see that in Katsina, I think you notice that the current governor is no longer running.
Indeed.
So that's the reason why there is a closeness in the performances. If the current governor was running, the incumbent governor, it could have been totally different. So it's a question mark on our democracy. How come everybody gets re-elected with very wide margin, even with limited performance in their performance in their states? So
we should have seen that sort of. So I mean, yesterday we had two experts here, two academics here, who were trying to make sense of the entire primaries exercise and maybe explain what it is that we have seen so far. You just made reference to the fact that the current governor of Katsina State is no longer on the ballot, and that's why we've seen the kind of results that we've seen.
Absolutely.
And they also made reference to the fact that in the states where there were no subsisting governors for the PDP or we should be seeing different, maybe a closer contestation where the governor does not have an influence.
Exactly.
But has that really played out? I mean, because there are states like, I'm looking at Abia now. The governor is no longer running, but we have 3 aspirants walking out on the competition.
The primary.
The primaries. You also have. I'm looking at other states now where you had a pretty like Delta State. The winner is Senator Ovi Omagege. The name of the runner-up is not even there. 1,190 votes.
It depends.
I mean, nobody has come out to complain about it, but I mean, this is what we're saying. There is no governor for the APC in Delta State.
Yeah, it depends on various factors. For instance, if the governor is not running, and there is somebody who is, promoted by the governor, and the governor still, controls all the paraphernalia of the party in the state, you see the gap. But sometimes when the governor is neutral and to say, let me get the best of these people, you see the closeness. It's still part of the margin.
Should we be saluting the governor of Katsina State right now?
I think so. It's not in my party, but what he did is obvious, that the people he presented are quality men that can compete with themselves. And he decided to just say, okay, whoever emerges, because if it were a situation where the contestants are being under the umbrella of the governor, you see that everybody would be, shoved off, and you see the wide margin. It's a serious situation.
Really, and you said earlier, emerging democracy, and it is something I have heard, in fact, maybe from the day one of the Fourth Republic, that this is an emerging democracy. And we've spent how long now? 22 years, and we're still emerging. But it looks like we have not really gone that far. It's the same process that we probably saw in '98, saw prior to the previous elections, that we're still seeing now. So for how long will we be emerging?
I don't really know. In some areas, it's even getting worse.
It is.
There is this audacity and brazenness in abusing the process that we have seen. We've just emerged from, the primaries for assembly, for House of Rep and Senate, from states and governorship, and you could see what transpired. And even in the political arena, let me quickly add that 20 years in the life of a nation is a very, very short time.
It's a long time in the life of a people.
For a serious nation, like Rwanda did after the Rwanda war, they came together. I pray that the political class will be serious enough to be able to, put the interest of the masses at heart and do the needful. What I've seen that is very worrisome is the fact that the Section 84(8) has actually created a chaos that nobody knows exactly the outcome. This cannot have a happy ending. When you now redefine democracy to mean that it is the choices of the unknown minority that will drive a nation that is so much in dire need of recovery, rescue, and we are worried. It's deeply worried. When you're on the field and when you've been in this game as long as we have all been, there is nothing to cheer. And believe me, when these people are emerging, I just wonder what is the next you know, what is the next step for the ordinary man?
I find something quite interesting.
The country is down completely in all facets of human, and is it security, is it defense, is it economy, is it infrastructure? We're down out.
I'd like you to
the primaries will be a major issue, concern for all the political parties.
Right, pardon me. I just wanted to explore a point you made. I mean, we'll get to the reality, the general reality, but this 84-8 question. So this is the first time we're actually going this route.
This route.
And, I mean, when we've said we're emerging, so it looks like we're doing something different. So it depends on how it affects you. For some people, they say it is a way to go. Maybe for those who are established, they're saying, well, you are pushing it out of the whole scheme of things. But talk to this. Delegates are essentially from local governments, am I right?
Yes.
So why would you say then that they are faceless, they are unknown? They are the people. Shouldn't it be for them as well?
Let me tell you, you must take everything in total. For instance, people manage the party. They have 4-year tenure. From the ward to the local government to the senatorial district to the nation. And those are the people that are aware of those that are contesting. And we know the process of selecting delegates. We cannot delude ourselves. I won't come on national television. I lie to you that the process is so clear that it can bring about future development.
What's the process?
When I know the process is such that when you're selecting delegates in each of the wards, they're not considered on the basis of their knowledge of the economy or the knowledge of what is happening in the country. Many of them have not even seen, they've not seen television, because so many of our countries don't even have television, the light, no talk of television. They've not seen these individuals that are contesting. They don't know them. You make choices on the basis of knowledge. So how are we going to go say that, 3 adult delegates from the wards, and one per local government, will be able to take the rightful decision to put people that have competence and capacity in positions that can actually bring Nigeria out of the doldrum it finds itself? I still don't understand. And that's exactly what I'm telling you, that the whole process, it has to be filtered more. And I feel so disappointed with the National Assembly for bringing us to all this cul-de-sac. You see, all these things happened and the two parties were running around like yo-ho. Within the last 7 days, we don't know what will really happen. Will the president sign? Will there be a change? And suddenly it turned out that the president felt, you cannot just be shoving things on my table without you thinking about it. He decided not to vote. To some of us...
Dr. Lafeso, you know, what you've just said about how Section 8412 has created a problem. Some people do not see it like that. You said that now the people will be, or the candidates will be decided by the votes of an unknown minority.
Yes.
And this is the first time that this is going to happen in our 22+ years of democracy in the Fourth Republic. Some people are going to say that maybe that's a change that we need. Maybe that's a disruption that we need. That maybe for too long had the political class, taken the role and not exactly understood what the people themselves need. You do not agree?
You see, what I'm trying to say out here, Mokwe, is the fact that you prepare yourself for such things. And believe me, before the selection of delegates, it should have been established. It should have been established that they're going to vote to select leadership, and then you see that leaders will now begin to filter. What are the qualities of men that we're going to select as delegates to vote? The new leadership for 2023 up. And now and now suddenly it dawned on everybody. People that could have been selected were left behind, and people just said, okay, let me use as this,
So now the results of what political parties have been doing is now effectively coming to bite them in the butt. That's what it looks like is happening, because before now, nobody really cared who the ad hoc delegates were. So because the super delegates dominated the day. So isn't this time, there are certain lessons to be learned. We do not know what the fate of Section 8412 will be. The Supreme Court has reserved judgment in that, and we understand that the NBA chose to be joined in that suit because they were also serving as advisors. We do not know in what way the advisors sway the verdict of the Supreme Court. But there have been quite a number of opinion that we've seen flying around
Yes.
in the face of this the face of the president's refusal to sign
For
the
84A,
and a
right.
lot of them have
Yes.
caught. I'm going to read one now. I don't know who the author is, but he or she says this is an act of God. The fact that the president has refused to sign this, and the person believes that, I mean, that is the result of, I mean, it has shown how orderly the Congress is so far conducted has been. They say the so-called statutory delegates have been a bane on the internal electoral process of political parties, conferring undue advantage on a section of the political class. Apart from their huge number, adding to the sky-high cost of election, the unhinged delegates list has been a source of anarchy marring the process. So they view the super delegates and the statutory delegates as the burden on political parties which needed to be removed. And that has been done by an act of God.
Not an act of parliament.
Quite frankly, even if it's going to be done by act of God, there have been the necessity to prepare for that kind of surprise so that it could help the system.
That's why it's a
Let me tell
surprise.
you, democracy is not even helping here in Nigeria.
Isn't that why
it has not produced?
Isn't that why it's an act of God? Because even the National Assembly themselves did not know when this happened.
Or they seem as though they didn't know.
No, they didn't know. They didn't know when it happened.
On a
This
serious
law.
note, Malkwe, it has severe consequences for the future. I'm not against, picking a less number of people to pick their leaders, but at the same time, those people should be adequately informed and educated to be able to make the right choices. In this circumstance, will you be happy?
How severe are the consequences you're looking at?
It can be in the sense that the choices will not be dependent on quality, capacity, and capability. But it's going to, wait a minute, then let me explain, Malkwe, because I have seen this on the field.
Is that for the presidential primaries or for the
Not
primaries
only
that have already been
everyone,
conducted?
from assembly to national assembly to everywhere, to governorship and everything. You see, what has happened is the fact that if the parties are prepared, and in the first instance, why do you have to lump all the parties together to act the same way? When we must drive different values. You see, the value system is messed up and convoluted, and that's the reason why we are in this quagmire. And believe me, what that man said is ultimately right. The cost of our democracy is prohibitive. If you face a primary election in the past, we never wish it. I ran for the governorship of Ondo State, and believe me, I won't run anymore. It is scary. It is unpredictable.
But that
and
was
you know
before
why?
the current
quality of people, education, understanding, enlightenment, and environment is absolutely critical. So what this man said is right, but on the other hand, what this one portends for the future is a grave danger for the nation.
Let's flip this to Lagos now. Gentleman and lady.
Oh, indeed, Dr. Lafesa, it's good to see you again. I'd like to take you up on the point about the delegates. You talked about them being rural, being unschooled, and that it doesn't augur well for our democracy if such category of people beneath the rung of the ladder are the ones choosing our candidates, those who would determine and decide the future of the country. But isn't that the responsibility of the party? And that's why we've been asking over and over again on Sunrise Daily, on Channels Television, what goes into the choice of the delegates? What are the considerations of the deciders of the party? So shouldn't the party be the ones taking responsibility for that process that brings about the emergence of the people who decide who the candidates are?
No. Thank you, Buki. It's nice to see you again. But what I said, please don't get me wrong. I didn't say every delegate from the rural areas are uninformed and all that. What I'm saying is that even if we're going to change the system, if the issue of superdelegates have been a burden on the nation and the cost prohibitive, there must be adequate time to prepare so that at least we can up the ante in terms of selecting and voting for, delegates who will eventually be saddled with the responsibility, very grave responsibility of selecting leaders, especially at this point in time in the history of this nation, that it is an existential problem that we need to resolve through leadership. the last 60-something years have been, almost years of the locust. So bringing this issue up at this time should have been a situation of preparing for this moment for at least 6 months to a year, so that we know we're transferring from the super delegates to delegates that we started with the responsibility of selecting their leaders for the next cycle of office of 4 years. That's my point, Buki.
Is the decision, or rather the reaction of the former president to the primaries that have been held so far, and his observation about 84-12 in relation, is it altruistic or is it self-serving if the concern is the exclusion of the super delegates and the statutory delegates from the process?
You see, it's not. And I share former President Jonathan's view. Believe me, we cannot be trashing virtually every aspect of democracy and expect, good returns from it. What I am saying is that why on earth would they have to give us a couple of days to say it is only the adult delegates that will vote in all these, elections, to select from the Assembly, National Assembly, governors, and President of the Federal Republic? Shouldn't we have actually prepared ourselves for this moment of change, which, as a matter of fact, may be of advantage to the country? I am deeply still worried that everything is a la carte in this country. We don't think deep about the consequences, and when the consequences come, it actually ruins everything we ever, prepared for. We are in dear need of quality leadership that must be selected by carefully enlightened and prepared minds to do so. There is no arguing against this situation.
And there's been concern about what has been called the delegate procurement process and the implications on the economy, really. We've seen how in the last few days, how the Naira has weakened yet again against the dollar because of reports about, the distribution of dollars amidst the whole process. And as a result, there have been permutations that perhaps one of the reasons the president has withheld his assent to the amendment to the Electoral Act made by Parliament is particularly because of this, and his worry, according to the reports, are that if he amends, he gives his assent, it will enhance corruption the more. So as a result of that aspect of the whole subject, isn't it even better, for the system? Wouldn't we have a greater burden on our shoulders if, the primaries were held in the old order?
You see, Buki, the thing is that this has not reduced the cost of, elections at all. I was on the field from Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and I know exactly that what you just said, the procurement thing, is everywhere. And believe me, in the next 4 years, to become a delegate will probably cost you more than becoming a senator or an assembly person, because a lot of them have seen that, hey, this is a possibility. If the Nigerian economy, if the government has forgotten us, the possibility of selecting the leaders that will forget us sooner than later will actually earn us some wealth. And they will take it serious. Believe me, a lot of quality men have been lost within this last few days because, one, not many of them will carry the kind of quantum of money others are carrying. And if you have enough money in the system, you're sure to be able to buy your way because you're buying fewer people. What I am advocating, and I believe that a lot of Nigerians will do that, is this option A4, where you just get all your delegates queue behind you, not indirect secret balloting. Because if you get them queue behind you, one delegate will not take money from 4 aspirants at the same time, voting for only one. There is problem. There is clear and present danger in this country. Buki, you must recognize that. And if you think because the number of delegates are smaller, that will reduce the cost of, selecting leadership, what I saw this weekend has already negated that.
Dr. Alafeso, I heard what you said the other time that, we are digging a pit for ourselves if we do not arrest this. For God's sake, this process started in 1999. That's more than 20 years. That's 23 years now and counting that we've been through this kind of process, and one wonders what we could have done. But then you referenced the Third Republic when we used the option A4. And so it just takes my mind back to what could we have done better. I ask that against the backdrop of what you just said now about delegates. How do they even emerge in the first place? And then in selecting candidates, shouldn't there have been some kind of debate among the candidates, you know, with the delegates, so that they can make better choices and all of that? You're zonal chairman of a major political party. In your own mind, tell us how the delegates are selected by the party, and maybe that will give us an idea of what we need to do to make the process better for our people, our democracy, and our future.
Much, my brother. You referenced the last 20 years and all the challenges we've been facing, but now it's coming to a head, because it appears that we have not learned any lesson from the past. You know, the issue of delegates, to my knowledge and my personal experience, is such that most delegates are selected on the basis of patronage to one leader or the other. You must be loyal to somebody before you are, you know, selected to be a delegate that will vote. And the leader will first of all consider his own interest before you are even considered to have qualified to be, you know, selected as a delegate. And you take it from there. And this happens from the ward to the local government. The local government will produce one national delegate that will vote at the national convention. Meanwhile, the wards will produce 3 delegates that will vote in all other, you know, elections of assembly and House of Rep. And you know, in this process, you see, it's very subjective to pick people. I have seen a number of delegates that cannot even read or write, that they have to thumbprint for them. So now, in selecting our leaders, how can this one work when he doesn't even know anything about the person? You said something. That is what I've been advocating for the last 20, 30, 40 years, even as president of the Student Union at Obafemi Awolowo University. How on earth are we going to be having an elections and we're selecting aspirants and candidates that we have not even spoken to? They have no agenda for you. All they are waiting for is the 4 years. They pack their money, they come to the scene, and they just buy whatever they wanted to buy in terms of delegates, and they are back again.
But
you recycle mediocrity.
Well,
you recycle pain,
the issues,
and that's exactly
of the day and the issues that we need to tackle. And then there is another aspect that has historically worked for us, such that the party structure seems stronger than the individuals. But you seem to be saying that we've turned that on its head. We'll deal with that and a number of other issues when we return from this break. Please stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. Dr. Olufeso, I mean, again, as I said, I mean, having been zonal chairman of major political parties such as the PDP, beg your pardon, Dr. Eddie Olafeso, it's a little troubling what you said now, that, you know, delegates emerge based on personal interests. As you said, you used the word subjective and patronage of certain individuals. And it would seem as if the individuals are bigger than the party. Is there a chance that this can be reversed? Because I've said this countless times here. In the First Republic, in the Second Republic, in the Third Republic, the party structures, party institutions were stronger than the individuals, such that no one came with whatever influence whatsoever to lord it over the party. What you're saying now seems that the reverse is the case. And as you said, the issues we're dealing with may not go away if some things don't change. What needs to change?
Thank you. Our value orientation is at risk. And the honest truth is that you hit the nail on the head when you said individuals are stronger than the party. When President Muhammadu Buhari sneezes, the APC runs. And that is it with all the other political parties. And believe me, until we reverse the situation, when the party is strong and we build an institution of, a very strong party that can put in check all the elected officers, we'll be having this kind of situation. In the First, Second, and Third Republic, you see that, governors are invited to come and give account to the party. These days, who dares that? And that is the problem, the bane, the tragedy of the recent development. When you have individuals stronger than institutions that should actually control, manage, and ensure that they are properly piloted to bring about economic and political development. You see, and you mentioned something before we went on break about the issue that nobody is even asking, aspirants, what do you intend to do? What are your programs? How are you going to help the country? What did you do in your first 4 years? Why do you want to go for the next 4 years? Nobody asks that question. All we do is rush into, primaries, and then suddenly all these things happened. And you don't blame anybody. This is a third world. And in a third world where, 90% of your people are are not doing anything, the reality is the fact that whatever brings money home to pay school fees, look after yourself and ensure that you live, an averagely normal life is welcome. I'm very worried about our value system. The political class itself doesn't seem to know where they're going. We need strong leadership to begin to reorganize our nation. It can't go on like this. If it goes on like this, I don't see a happy ending. There cannot be a happy ending in this circumstance. So, for me, my brother, I share your view that the party must be stronger. But what we can do from this moment forward is the fact that we must find quality people. People run away from party leadership because they believe that you're better served when you're in government and you're paid well and your package is, is robust enough to be able to get other people, under your feet. It shouldn't be like that. Our best hand should be organizing the political parties. And that's why some of us volunteer to serve at that level, so that the political parties can be strong to be able to select people that will be in government. So it's a major problem. That is the heart of the matter.
Just one more, Olorogun, Dr. Olafeso, before Abuja takes it up from here. I can't take it out of my mind that you do not necessarily endorse, the innovation of 84.8 that is regulating this entire process. And I want us to cast our minds back a bit to some elections before now. In fact, many elections before now. And I want to make a specific reference to Ekiti. We recall what happened 2 primary elections away, where it became chaotic, so to speak, with ballot snatching and all of that taking place on live television that we could see. So in your own view, maybe you should make a comparison here. Which is better if you look, if you made an assessment of the processes that we've seen across the country so far and from both political parties, which is better, primary elections regulated under 84.8 or what we saw in the past?
You see, the honest truth is that I have not condemned the 84.8. What I said is that it was chomped on us. You barely have a couple of days to prepare yourself. And this should have been given an opportunity through the process of selecting highly enlightened delegates who will be saddled with this responsibility of, selecting leadership for the future. I've seen what happened in the past, especially, ballot snatching and all the other violences that visited, some of the primaries conducted. But the truth is that how can you say somebody should manage a party for 4 years and the party has, the person has no right to even decide, I know this man, he has contributed to this party, he has sacrificed along the line for the party to survive, and then suddenly you disallowed him from voting. there must be a relook at what is happening. Will this be the absolute, process through which we select credible and quality leadership? I doubt if it is. And the future must take into consideration the fact that you do not allow minority, just a very small minority, to select leadership that will have a total impact on the way forward for the country. It's not possible. That's sitting democracy on its head. So, for me, if we can remove the influence of money politics, there's nothing wrong in more people taking a decision to select a leadership on the basis of his promises to the electorate. And we can always reorganize the process. It depends on who the leadership of each of the political parties. If they so desire, the party can even organize the thing I discussed with my other brother about, let's debate. What do you have to say? What have you done for the party? For me, this process has been jumped upon us without any preparation for it. And I said it cannot portend anything, that is going to be different from what happened in the past. I'm worried that there cannot be happy ending to what happened over the weekend. A lot of people were disenfranchised. They have no say in who comes up again. So how are you going to blame me for somebody who failed that I cannot vote for at this level? And it's equally critical.
Well, the National Assembly will say that maybe that was inadvertent. What they really wanted was a direct primaries. And
Absolutely.
Excuse me, and that didn't quite work out. But in the process, it didn't amend certain sections to reflect the other options that were now included. And I'd really have loved to take you up on, this entire concept of minority voting for the majority, et cetera, because even in the United States, which we copy heavily from and which seems to be the model of democracy, they also have, I'm trying to remember the system that they have.
The college?
The college,
yes.
The college, the collegiate system, which eventually determines who the president of the country is. And, there have been complaints about that as well, but it looks like every democracy is a work in progress.
Yes.
Nonetheless, you're here in Abuja now, and you're here for the primaries. You confirmed to us here that you are here for the primaries.
I have no vote.
You were not.
I'm a member of the electoral committee that will now, ensure that there is compliance with our party constitution and the electoral law in the process of selecting who becomes our president.
Okay, so you're here nonetheless, and you're here to ensure that things go well within your party.
Yeah.
So what are your expectations for the primaries of the PDP, which you're going to be
The leadership is working so hard to reduce the number, so that, the acrimony that may visit the convention will be reduced. And if we achieve that, which is very possible, because we must have to begin to subsume our personal interest for the interest of the nation and the party. So I expect our primaries to be very, very peaceful. And we have quality people that have actually shown interest. And I know that whoever amongst them emerges will do Nigeria proud and better than the way the APC government did within the last 7 years.
You have 14 aspirants, or maybe even less now, because one face I'm seeing here, Mr. Dili Momodu, is said to have withdrawn from the race, that he doesn't have the kind of money. That was what was reported.
Even 14 is still a huge number.
So you want to cut it down?
It's possible the party can do that.
How will they do that? Are they looking for
by consensus? You combine all these factors, consensus, election, you talk to people, you measure, you gauge their strength, and you appeal to them that, it will be better if we go with less number to the convention, so that the choices made will enable all of us to rally. What is important and critical is the fact that even after the convention, we still have to bring ourselves together and work together. If not, a party in opposition still, grandstanding like this may run into difficulty. As bad as they have, as bad and poorly as the APC have done in terms of developing the nation, they still have the Commonwealth with them, and there are a lot of havoc they can do to an opposition who may not have as much resources as they have.
Does it create a problem that your party refused to zone the presidential ticket?
I think it's a way forward. I mean, because I asked my brother when I came in that in the last 60 years, how has zoning the position helped us? You know, we are getting...
Well, 60 years be a very... In fact, some people will say that it's exactly, it is precisely because of what has happened in the last 60 years that parties have now introduced zoning, and that the PDP had to put it in its constitution.
If time permits, you say that the original government actually is easier to manage, and they have their own constitutions at that time. But beyond that, and with the military intervention, zoning came up, you know, so seriously within the 1998, 1999 Republic, so that we can balance out these things. But for me, is it geography that is important, competence or capacity? You know, so, you know, the issue of zoning is neither here nor there. Our party did the right thing by giving everybody equal opportunity to compete and contest amongst themselves. Let me tell you today, Makwe, if a president comes from Katsina, from Daura, and is able to rally this country, bring unity, and ensure that everybody has a sense of belonging, your citizenship means something for you, nobody will care if it's even the, you know, son of Muhammadu Buhari. So, you know, the issue of zoning is because we're not sure of ourselves. We're not even sure if our patriotism is something that can rally all of us. Everybody wants to run into an ethnic enclave so that they can, you know, survive certain things. No, look at what is going on in the country. The hopelessness, the brutal life, the short life that we have all been exposed to. It's so sad. Look, all these parties are doing what they are doing, everybody running around to become president. Did anybody remember Shaibu, that young girl that was kidnapped?
Leah Shaibu.
Yes. You see, every day I remember her. I just feel that the political class has actually betrayed this country, especially those of us that have children. Look at Samuel, Deborah Samuel.
A lot of kidnapped people to think about.
Absolutely.
I mean, those who were also kidnapped on the train to Kaduna
they are still there.
Are still there.
So we have
quite a lot in terms of food for thought for those who will be voting in this primaries this weekend.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that some of the pep talk which you've given here would also be given at the party grounds before, you know, party delegates.
We will scream.
Eventually go to vote.
Hoping that they will do the right thing.
By the way, Governor Wike said he should be congratulated. It looks like he's sure of winning already. Is that what it looks like on your side?
If you have worked very hard and you have done your homework, what is wrong in you saying I'm going to score an A in mathematics?
Is it the consensus? Is that what it looks like?
It's not, even if it's by vote. He is convinced that he has worked very well and had to earn that. He has served the party enormously to be able to say, I should get that. And if other candidates are so sure of themselves, they will equally say it. But it's going to be a different you know, game by the time we all go out there. We know if he has done that much work. And believe me, of all the contestants, they have worked. They have gone around the country. It's the enormous resources that, you know, that entails you becoming a president is mind-boggling. It's prohibitive. And some of them really, truly deserve what they are getting. I can't run for president in this country. Nobody's asking me, what do you want to do? Everybody's asking, what do you bring?
Dr. Lafeso, we can go on and on.
I know.
But we'll be seeing you on the grounds of the primaries.
Don't make it too long before we talk again.
Thank you so much for coming on this morning. Dr. Eddie Olafeso is the former zonal chairman of the PDP in the Southwest. He's speaking to us here in our Abuja studios. We take a moment now, and we will be sparing a thought for the children when we come back from this break. Please stay with us. Well, indeed, it's Children's Day, and we did say that we're sparing a thought for the children. Today, we're joined by Beatrice Amaki Lawrence, who is a student here in the Federal Capital Territory, and also Joseph Joshua, who is also a student. Happy Children's Day to you.
Thank you.
To all of us.
I do not know sometimes if adolescents, do they feel like children? Do you like being called a child?
Sometimes.
You do sometimes,
yes,
on Children's Day.
Exactly.
And for you, I know it's a particularly special day. Today is your birthday.
Yes, Mom.
Happy birthday to you.
Thank you, Mom.
Fantastic. Well, I don't know. I know that usually when you're an adolescent, you know, by that time, they're usually telling their parents, I'm no longer a child.
I know, right?
Stop treating me like a child.
Until you want to get the perks of a child, and you're like, okay, I'm a child right now.
So does today confer on you the perk of being a child? Let me ask you what today means for you. Let me start with you, Beatrice.
Well, Children's Day, for me as a person, is a day where we get to know each other. We get to familiarize with our parents better because the government has given us a day off since we are students, as per their honoring our special day. And as for me as a person, today is a significant day because it's my birthday as well, and I get a lot of gifts and prayers and blessings for the year to come.
So, you know, when you were saying something about how you get to spend time with your parents or something like that, maybe for you it would be really special. I was just about to say that government gives children...
Didn't give parents.
Well, didn't give parents. So how are they supposed to spend the time with their children on Children's Day? But let me ask what your experience has been, Joseph. What exactly has your experience been when you think of Children's Day? What comes to your mind? What has that day been for you?
When I think of Children's Day, what comes to my mind is that that day has been set aside by the government to celebrate God's creatures, we little children, also youths, probably adolescents. But that day has just been set in, it varies from countries and country. Different countries have different dates of celebrating children. But in Nigeria, they pick May 27th to celebrate we children. I think it imbibes the spirit of togetherness and unity among our youths.
Okay, amongst the youth. Okay.
Amongst the youths and the children.
Okay, so there has been really nothing. I mean, even I am thinking right now what used to happen on Children's Day.
That's your time, right?
I mean, it's still my time, isn't it?
No, I don't think so.
Well, in the past, we usually have March Past on Children's Day, and you go out inter-school competitions, cooking, dancing.
Yes.
But due to the insecurity in the country, parents no longer see the need, and also the COVID-19 pandemic and lockdown. They don't want to give out, they can't risk their children's life, taking them to public spaces like the stadium and Eagle Square.
And that's highly significant because I know that last year you were part of a special children's edition for leadership newspapers. We did say that last year leadership newspapers had a very special edition, which front page. I mean, the nameplate of the paper was different. It was done up in the colors, beautiful colors, you know, and for leadership newspapers. And you were part of that. You wrote a story titled My COVID Experience.
Yes, ma'am.
And it was a really beautiful story to read. And just talking about how things have changed, even in your own time, how insecurity has changed things, and maybe now health considerations as well. Tell us about that. I mean, how has it been for you in that transition? Because this is still you. You're still very young. You're in SS2 now. And yet, a lot of things have changed from what you know Children's Day used to be, even now that you know, you're still celebrating Children's Day.
Well, during that period of COVID-19 lockdown, I noticed that I started going into depression. But then, by the grace of God, and we also had more family time and family bonding, so I was able to get out of that state. And it was really frustrating because I'm usually the type that like going to school, and staying at home, seeing the same faces every day wasn't a joke. And it was stressful, doing all the chores and everything. But we thank God, we survived. During that state, what also helped me was reading my Bible and praying, family devotions and stuff.
Very important.
Exactly. And then the use of technology wasn't modified at that time. So online lessons and... Okay, yes, that was when U-Lesson came out.
Indeed.
So that was what helped me during that time. I got enrolled in U-Lesson and I was able to cover up some topics because immediately we resumed school after that pandemic. That was when I wrote my BC Junior WAEC. So it helped.
A great deal.
You know, guys, pardon me, I'm going to abandon my questions right now. I was just about
to, you know, talk to Joshua about that as well.
I'm just going to speak from my heart. I used to envy young people or children of this times? Because I see you with your devices and all. The best we used to do was maybe climb trees, just play with sand. But hearing from you how challenging it is to be a child at this time, just it's a rude shock for me. And Joseph, I'd like you to also speak to that. Just how challenging is it to be a child right now?
It is actually very, very, very challenging to be a child. Very challenging. You don't, normally at this age, before getting to being adolescent, you don't have freedom. Your parents keep you at home. Some parents are very, very, very overprotective, especially in a country like this. So there's no freedom. Everything is just tight. You are doing all the chores, as she said. You are just the one that they are using at that point. Because, of course, when we grow up, probably marry, probably get a job, there will be no one to stay with them. So they are using this opportunity now to enjoy their children.
But she talked about depression, and I've heard that a lot with young people. Children, really, not even just young people, depression. And I mean, I don't quite understand. How much pressures do you face as a child, such that, I mean, you're probably close to depression and you need a lot of help, family help, as you said, religious help. Just how much pressure are you under?
When she spoke about depression, most children, why they are engaged in depression is because we children are very, very misunderstood. We are very misunderstood. So in a case whereby we are misunderstood and then nobody actually, our mind is different from the adult mind. So they don't want to actually bring down themselves to our stage in order to interpret us well. So that's why they just feel like we're saying irrelevant things and what we say don't matter, they don't care about it, and that's when we begin to feel lonely, self-isolated and depressed.
Okay. But well, things you say matter, they come from your heart, right? So you'd love parents and adults to listen to what you say and
Yes,
at least
sir.
understand from your level.
Yes,
okay,
sir.
we have more adults, by the way, in this conversation, so I'll flip this to my colleagues in Lagos.
Please be humble when you come.
Well, Kadi, I was just telling Bukola here that you took the question right out of my mouth. But I was going to ask it from the anecdote that you added. So let me ask Beatrice, since you've already asked the gentleman. Do you think parents listen to their children? Do you think parents need to take time to listen to their children so that they can understand them better? If you agree, how should that conversation happen?
Thank you very much for that question. Well, I believe that most parents listen to their children, and how that can take place is that, like, when parents pay more attention to their children and they listen to them, they get to understand them better. Like my colleague just said, my colleague Joshua, he just said that most children are being misunderstood by the society at large. So when parents can take out time from their busy schedule and understand children, I believe that that deep bond and connection can be formed. Thank you.
Do you think children understand their parents? Do you think parents are able to convince their children to the point that they understand? Not that the children just say, Mommy says, do you understand? And the children just say, yes, I understand, without really understanding. So do you think children are able to understand their parents or the adults around them?
Well, in the society we live in, not all children understand their parents. Most of them are under the influence of peer group pressure. So most times they listen to their peers, and whatever their peers tell them is what they go for. They don't tend to, read their parents' mind. For instance, me as a person, I tend to understand when my mom is in the mood and when she's not in the mood. Now, children to learn to discern their parents, and this can be done when you spend time with their children, like I earlier said.
Joshua, you've really given us food for thought this morning. That's why my question is for you. I want you to speak more to your position about how children are misunderstood. I mean, we want to do better as parents. So, but make it more practical. How do you expect us to do better in our relationship with you, with especially children of your age group? I want you to be more practical in terms of your academics, in terms of your extracurricular activities, when you're at home. How do we connect with you?
Okay. Most parents of today are more busy. So when we children come back from school and all that, they don't have time. They don't have time to, as you said, peer group pressure comes in. They don't have time to listen to their children. They don't have time to talk to their children. Hey, what did you do in school today? Hey, how was your lesson in school today? Is your teacher good? Is she bad? Is she doing the right thing? Is she doing the wrong thing? How are you coping in school? Your normal lifestyle, how are you doing? How are you growing? They're supposed to ask regular questions. Whenever they come back from work or they are less busy, they should dedicate time to their children, play with them, take them out, or do anything that makes them feel more together with their parents.
You also talked about you needing more freedoms, you know, and it's understandable if parents of today would rather have their children in a safe space where their eyes, you know, can go around and ensure that they're safe and secure. How do you expect that should be better managed if you want more freedoms at your age?
For my age, actually, when I said we need more freedom, I was talking about adolescents. Most adolescents of their age feel like they are no more supposed to be under the rule of their parents. They are supposed to be given freedom. They are supposed to be given some space, at least to stay with their friends, at least to play with their age mates and all that. But rather, parents which are overprotective at this age, parents which are overprotective within the age of 14, 15, 16, 17, parents are very, very overprotective at that age. They don't want anything to happen to their child. They don't want them to be killed because of the insecurity in our country today.
So, do you also agree, Beatrice, that parents are overprotective? I mean, you don't blame parents who are protective of their children because, I mean, they know how they grew up. And just as you both said, the way the parents grew up and the way, you know, the environment is, the society is today, is a lot different than when they were growing up. Things were a lot safer and all of that. So the risks, the vulnerabilities of the environment were different. So do you blame parents for being overprotective, as Joseph said?
Not really. I don't really blame parents of nowadays for being overprotective of their children. The fact that we adolescents need freedom and we need personal space, there comes a time in our lives when that protectiveness is actually beneficiary for us. For instance, now, given the instance of the Chrisland girl, that particular incident, I don't think her parents were, like, they felt they were protecting her and providing everything she needed by providing gadgets and stuff. But they weren't setting eyes on her. Now, that protectiveness is not just about not letting you go out or not letting you go for hangouts or parties. They have a reason for doing such. It's not that parents don't let children go for parties. They let them go for birthday parties, but they let them go for parties that they are sure of what, like, the motive, what is going on there, what is happening. They don't just let you go for clubs or stuff. You won't blame parents because they already know, like the old adage that said, even if a young person climbs a tree and an old man that is sitting on the mat, he can see farther than you climbing the tree. Now, your parents, they've stayed, they've existed in this earth for years. They know things, even if they weren't modernized like we are now. But anyway, they have a reason for doing such. They don't just deprive you of certain rights.
Okay.
Do you get?
Talking about right. Oh, yes, I do get. I understand that language. But, you know, talking about rights, denials, and all of those things, you talked about the engagement of technology for children the other time, that's another vulnerability that many parents didn't grow up with. As Kayode said, the biggest iPad your parents or their own parents had was what they call slates. And the stylus was a white chalk on blackboards. Now, many parents today may not know much about technology. So do you see a need for parents to guard and guide their children in the use of technology, which makes the children a lot more vulnerable to the outside world than they were when they were growing up?
Yes, I see the need for parents to learn and have proper use of technology in our society today, as this will help them reduce the risks that we face. There are certain apps and applications that let parents have their parental consent for the sites and websites that we adolescents can go for. Now, when parents are not aware of all these applications and softwares, they tend to leave their children vulnerable to the outside world. But if you as a parent, you are acquainted with all these devices and gadgets, there is no way that your child can be left vulnerable to different set of individuals in society today.
So let me bring it back here now. Both of you, in speaking to us, have spoken about the security situation in the country. And it's something that is highly regrettable in terms of how parents have now had to become overprotective in an era or in an age where children should actually be allowed to go out to explore. It's really very regrettable. But let me ask you if you are aware of what is happening politically. Are you aware of what is happening today and tomorrow? Are you aware?
Yes.
What do you know is happening today and tomorrow and over the weekend?
Well, what I know is happening in Nigeria today, tomorrow, that's Saturday, Sunday, and probably Monday is the primary elections of the APC and PDP selecting their different candidates from their own parties. Okay, let me bring it down to the layman. This is the period where a particular party have different members that have already bought their forms, but everybody in that party has to pick a particular person from that party that can represent the entire body
of the party.
Exactly.
Okay, so you are aware of that as well, Joshua. Are you taking an interest in what is happening politically speaking? And let me ask you, Joshua. It seems that Beatrice is already taking an interest from her explanation. She understands what... Have you been following what has been happening politically in the country? Do you read the papers, for instance?
Yes, I do.
So sometimes you consider yourself, I don't know, I'm sure your parents must tell you this once in a while, that you know that you're very lucky? I mean, in terms of the fact that at least you have parents who look after you, who send you to school, etc., etc. Sometimes when you see stories about all the children who are out on the streets, who do not have so much, or children who are not allowed to go to school for maybe insecurity, or children who live in refugee camps, how do you feel?
When I hear about displaced persons or young people who are out of home, I feel very sad because, yes, indeed, I am very lucky to have parents. I'm very lucky to go to school. I'm very lucky to be exposed to technology and to God at this age. But when I hear about those people that are on the streets, roaming about, no education, they are just wasting their lives and time. I feel very sad about it.
Are you worried about the future of your country?
Yes, I'm very, very worried. The little I know is that this country has already been damaged to a certain point that it might take a long time to repair. So I am, yes, very, very worried about the future.
Would you say that you're being built to help do that repair, which you see would need to be, carried out in the future, in your future?
Yes, I am being built to carry out the building back and the refurbishing, the refining of this country again in the future.
I want you to speak to those who maybe perhaps are tuning in to watch with their parents this morning, because normally we don't get young people watching Sunrise Daily unless their parents are forcing them to. What would you like to tell them this morning if you were to carry a message to, children your age and maybe a little younger or a little older than you about today, about the future? What would you like to tell them?
Like to sum it up?
Yes, to sum it up.
Okay, well, to sum up the whole event, I would like to extend my warm greeting to you and to wish you a happy Children's Day to begin with. In addition, Let's celebrate today with joy, and let's be fully appreciative of the gift of childhood that have been given to us. However, do not forget that you have a role to play in the development of this country. There is a great responsibility ahead of us. As you celebrate, don't forget. Thank you.
It's a beautiful place to leave it, and it's the kind of conversation I'd love to continue.
Honestly.
But thank you both for coming on this morning. You have done amazingly well. Thank you so much. I know how early you had to wake up when, you know, your mates are still snoring and it's Children's Day, for God's sake. Beatrice Amaki Lawrence is a student at GSS Government Secondary School here in Abuja. See how we do here. I mean.
Okay.
And Joseph Joshua is also a student at the same school. Thank you both for coming on this morning. Very grateful indeed.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Well, that's where we'll have to wrap it up this beautiful Friday morning right here on the program. Thank you so much for watching and for sending in your message. Are we allowed to take any message?
Well, the childhood experience tweets are there. We're going to make sure we continue the conversation on social media. So let's do that right after this. I'm Kayode Okikiolu.
Thank you, Maupe Ogun Yusuf.
And from Lagos, I am Bukola Samuel Wemimo. Thank you for watching.
Amaya Makinde, happy Children's Day.